First and foremost, thank you so much, Alex and Chris, for being here. This might be one of the most important conversations we have as Ascending Tribe, actually identifying what spiritual sovereignty actually means and how we're embodying it ourselves. Before we go and introduce ourselves, it's important to say that we have an event happening. It's called Beyond the System, and it's going to be a sovereign seminar. And the date is Saturday, the 18th of October, 2025 in the Tabernacle. So we're going to really dive deep there on what sovereignty means. But we just want to introduce the concept to people, because sovereignty is not just doing your paperwork. It's something that you have to embody. It's something that you have to know within yourself. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Indy. It starts off as an intellectual concept because you're learning new knowledge at the beginning, and you have to attain the knowledge at the beginning. Reading documents, reading laws is an integral part of that, but that is external going internal. Then the internal process is understanding it, truly understanding what it is that you're reading about, the power that comes from the word and the law. And then comes a transformational process internally where you actually embody and speak and act, behave in the frequency and vibration of your sovereignty. But that is a process it's taken me a long time to get here. And don't underestimate the amount of time it takes someone to really truly digest that knowledge and information. But the most important thing is it is possible for everyone to do that. Everyone can gain that level of sovereignty.
And there's definitely like layers of an onion. I don't know if it's been like this for you, Chris. You peel off a layer, you get a bit more confident, and then like something else comes, and then you peel off another layer, and you have to have lived experience. That's my only like the stronger I get is because of the lived experience. Like you said, you recognize that we're not the straw man, we're not the dead corporation created at birth. And when you recognize that, that's intellectually you can know that, but to actually live that and to know that you're the living flesh, and that when the police come up to you, I know that you're dealing with the straw man, not me. It's that's what I'm thinking you mean by embodying it and really starting to walk with sovereignty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And the lived experience is where wisdom comes from. Knowledge first, understanding is the internal process, and then action creates wisdom. So taking your license plates off the car, whatever your journey is, writing to the courts, going to the courts, speaking to the clerks, going through the action of the attained knowledge is how the wisdom. And then literally as a byproduct, I lost a lot of the fear, worries and concerns and the anxiety that came with dealing with the system was dissipated purely by the practicing of what I'd learnt over and over again, speaking, calling, writing. And eventually I realized nothing was happening to me. Wow, I'm still okay. Wow, I still have a job. Oh, I still have my health. Nobody has come to arrest me. And it broke down all of those fear barriers in simply realizing that the police didn't have any power over civil matters at all. And unless I caused a loss, harm, injury, theft, or fraud to another human being, I am 100% innocent in anything that I do, and everything else is a fabrication of their.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. When Alex, have you ever received a letter in like red capital letters and it's made you nervous?
In the beginning, I used to get like really fearful, like in the very beginning. But now, I think what happens when you're on the sovereign journey, um, what I feel happens anyway, is that obviously we have these conditioned layers of fear that have sort of been installed in us over the years. And so you sort of have to go through the process of like releasing these layers. And it's quite, as Chris said, like it's a very gentle, sort of slow process, because you have to go through like the layers, like you mentioned, the onions. Um, Layers of the onions. And so basically for me, I don't feel the fear anymore, but there are other things that like maybe spark fear or I don't know. The other thing that I wanted to also talk about is the courage as well, the courage that it takes to be on this path. Like, I
Yeah.
guess I'm gonna ask Chris as well, like what was the thing for you that gave you the courage to start walking on the path? Because to be sovereign, like, and to walk on this path, you've got to
I,
have courage to start, right?
you could say courage, but you could also say an outright defiance to authority. Maybe it was my trauma from my dad and mixed with a whole bunch of stuff, but I was defiantly against the government as soon as I started realizing what was happening. And it was never an option for me to just passively go about my day. It was like, okay, let's do this. Let's just focus solely on this. And it was like it took over me. Whatever the soul is, whatever the higher self is, I was not in control. It was like, this is definitely the right direction to go in. This is what you're doing now. And my old life literally just faded away, like it just evaporated. And the next thing you know, I'm in handcuffs in a police car, thinking, how the hell did I get here? But nevertheless, I am here. Let's see what happens. And it wasn't always with a smile. Sometimes I had anxiety and fear and worry and concern, pacing in a police cell for 6 hours, wondering what's going to happen to me. And then, like you say, year after year after year after year, nothing ever happens to you. And something you said earlier, India, about the layers of belief systems. We've actually been conditioned to believe in the government. We've been made to believe in government. Government is a belief system. And as we compartmentalize our own being and we start looking at different parts of ourselves, we realize that we don't have to believe in that. We can believe in something completely different. And it's a shift of awareness from, yes, I'm fully invested in the belief system that the government are here to protect me, serve me. And then it's a shifting to go, oh, no, I don't think that's what's happening anymore. I truly believe that community and grassroots movements and bringing people together to share knowledge and health is a belief system that I want to believe in. And I no longer have to be entrapped and encapsulated in an old ideology that was passed down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And your life becomes clearer and clearer the more you study and realize, oh, this is just not for me. And you can just let
Yeah.
all that stuff go.
They say often that.
Sorry.
Go on, Alex.
I was just going to say, like Chris earlier was talking about the lived experience as well. You sort of have to go through the thing to release the thing. So for me, like what you were talking about when you asked me about the letters, for example, like now I don't feel fear of the letters, but what are the things that still give me a little bit of fear is like maybe having encounters with the police. I haven't had that experience yet. And whereas like Chris has, and I'm sure the first time that Chris had that experience, he probably had a lot of fear. I mean, we can go into that, Chris, in a sec, but it's like, other things like I haven't had my car clamped, for example. I haven't had to deal with a human
Yeah.
in a sense yet, because my path is very, very different to a lot of other people's, as the sovereign journey is very individual to everyone anyway.
Yeah.
But you, like I was just saying, like you have to go through the thing to release the fear of the thing. Does that make sense? Like, so of the letters, like in the beginning, I was fearful of the bailiffs coming. They would like buzz, they would knock, they would like come round the front window and knock on my window. And yeah, like my heart would like jump out of my throat. Like it was fear, but I had to feel all of that fear to release that layer. And then same with the letters. And then I'm sure I've got a long way to go still on my journey. But yeah, Chris, I'm sure you felt the fear the first time that you got arrested. Like, how did that feel for you?
I felt like I was being treated like an animal.
Mm.
The first time I said, "What are you doing? This is a paperwork thing. Why am I in handcuffs if I haven't got an MOT?" It didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, well, I don't have an MOT and insurance. I grant you that. Why am I in handcuffs? Surely handcuffs are banding for dangerous people.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we're just following policies and procedure. But after being in handcuffs for an hour in the car and then being in the cell and stuff, I realized that, wow, we're just animals. We're just like, we're not human. We're not treated like human beings, like divine sentient beings of intelligence. We're treated like cattle. This is a cattle market. And waking up and sovereignty is literally taking off your old ideology or character and standing. And what I love about watching you and your content, Indy, is it's not just about the out and out sovereignty journey. It's about how you're delivering that information when you're confronted by a problem. It's how are you receiving the oppression? How is
Yeah.
it, are you playing the victim in it? Or are you, hey, with respect, man, like it's all good. Keep the frequency high,
Yeah.
even if you are in a challenging situation, even if you find yourself in a confrontation that you don't want to be in, breathe, relax, know that everything is okay. What's your take on it? How would you feel? How do you feel, Indy, if you were to come up against a bailiff or a counselor or someone with a clipboard outside your house? Like, what's your angle? What's your take on that?
So it's interesting because, I've been practicing Buddhism for 10 years, and it's very clear to me that if I'm in a state of Buddhahood, or if I'm in a high frequency, like you just said, I have a much better chance of drawing out a higher frequency from the reflection in front of me, whoever that is, the agent of the law. If I drop into frequency, if I drop into victimhood, if I drop into anger, there's no way I'm going to be able to draw the highest, potential out of that person. So like Alex said, I haven't had as much physical experience with the police or with bailiffs or with clamping of cars as you have, Chris. And that's why you're such a big inspiration, because I just cannot imagine you just going and going mad at them. Like, and you just staying calm actually and grounded and actually trying your best to have compassion for these people. They're uneducated. To me, like, you know, a lot of like the police and stuff, they're actually like the pit bulls of the higher echelons, you know, the Freemasons. They're just doing their job. A lot of them are uneducated. So trying to just understanding the divinity. Okay, I've been arrested, but I believe that everything's happening for a reason. So grounding myself in that. You know, when you told me, and we'll speak about this in a bit, you know, it's almost like turning a prison cell into a retreat center, knowing I'm going to be back in my bath this evening. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be safe. You know, there's one thing I wanted to mention here. A lot of people say that knowledge is power, but if that was the case, then every single library on every single town center would be the most popular place ever, which it's not. It's only applied knowledge which becomes powerful. You know, it's something that you've done, Chris, something we're doing, Alex. And I remember when I first, for instance, I had my little wobble. I was driving and in Kent, and then I got a letter from the police saying that I'd gone through a temporary light and that I owed them money or a fine. And I remember that situation. I was waiting there for 45 minutes on a country lane by myself on a temporary light that was clearly broke. So I just drove through it, and then they were coming for me. And I asked Lauren, who's an incredible, powerful person inside the Ascending Tribe, to give me some guidance. And she was just telling me, just send the letter back. You're not that straw man, that dead entity that they're trying to get the money from. That's not who you are. And when you educate yourself with knowledge and you realize when you receive a letter and it's got your name in capital letters and there's like an envelope square and you can see through it, that's mail fraud. When there's not a wet ink signature from the person sending it to you, that's mail fraud. And when you realize it's all a game, and now I know this knowledge and I can apply what I know, how comes they've not sent me one letter back? I sent 2 letters back. They've never said anything back to me again. But you know, when I first received that letter, there was that little twinge, that little bit of fear, because it's all in red letters. It's my name, final demand or something. And the Most High is my final demand, not the government, you know?
Mm.
That's right.
Fear is the illusion.
It really is.
It's so true. And you talk, if in doubt, zoom out. If in doubt, zoom out. So if you ever find yourself in a challenging situation, if you can gather yourself for 30 seconds and be like, okay, I just need 30 seconds, just get yourself together. Remind yourself that everything is divinely timed. You're in a situation for a reason, for a lesson, for some kind of growth experience. And I ultimately knew, okay, cool. Okay, I'm still going to buy another car and take the license plates off my car, even though I've had 2 cars crushed. I'm going to go buy a little £350 Renault Clio, 20-year-old Clio. And that day I took the plates off, just threw them in the hedge. And then I carried on driving around. And 2 days later, I got that 3rd car taken off me and crushed. But the guy who arrested me in Bournemouth, he says, why are you doing this, Chris? Like, what happened? Like, you know, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I said, I'm doing the right thing. Like, I'm living free. You're the one following the policies and the governments and stuff. And the policeman's like, yeah, I know, but you're never going to get anywhere with this, man. Like, I said, maybe not, but I've got to do what I got to do. You know, like I have to go through this process. This process has now possessed me. I'm in this and I'm going to see it through to the end. And it was 3.5 years before I got the result that I wanted in the court. But nothing.
And it takes people like you, Chris, that are trailblazers that will help to shift the system. I was watching something on ITV with my mum yesterday called I Fought the Law. And it's this reconstruction of the actor Sheridan Smith. And it's about in the 80s, this woman, her daughter died. And then he got trialed for it, the man that killed her, and then got, you know, sent away. And then basically, I don't know if you know what double jeopardy is, but basically if you find out that like the person actually did kill them, you can't trial them again, no, because they've already gone through the trial. So it's like a crazy, stupid rule. And this one individual lady changed the law it was for 800 years, Magna Carta, the double jeopardy law. And it took this lady to lose her daughter and to fight the system that the changes come. And that's so, I love what you just said. When in doubt, zoom out. Sometimes for people like us that are choosing to be the trailblazers, we're choosing to be rebellious. We don't want to be part of this system. You have to know that there might be some difficult times, there might be some friction, but that's actually part of the transformation. Like lady, she had to lose her daughter in order to finally have someone to fight the system enough to change an 800-year-old law, the double jeopardy law. So, you know, this is what Alex said earlier. We do need courage. Or you can switch courage for compassion for your fellow man, compassion for your unborn children in the future. What kind of future and system do you want to be in? And that brings a lot of compassion. And so therefore I'm willing to go through the eye of the needle if I have to stand in sovereignty.
Yeah. It's all linked to healing. It's all linked to mental purification. It's all linked to spiritual development. Everything is just one thing.
Mhm.
And it literally is the message I'm always trying to push through my TikTok and through the events is we're all the same. Everyone is identical. Or it doesn't matter what ethnic or background or programming or trauma or anybody, we're all mechanically identical, which is we can all change our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual state if we choose to. It's a choice point. Um, and that is truly the message. You too can do what we do. And anyone watching this video, go and read some books about your mentality, about your psychology, about your emotions, about the law, about the Magna Carta, about empowerment. Just get involved in learning and expanding yourself. And as a byproduct of that, we have resolution, we have revolution, we have realizations, and the whole planet will just shift in the direction when people take self-responsibility for studying, learning, and attaining the knowledge that was kept from them for the first 20, 30, 40 years of their life. And suddenly you mentioned libraries. We talked about this. The word library comes from the word libre. Libre comes from the word Latin for freedom. So liberation comes from the word library, liberation, which means they knew that books were freedom.
Wow.
Book equals freedom. And they put them in libres, in libraries, where you can go and attain freedom. So if you haven't figured it out yet, go and read a whole bunch of books and you will be incrementally moving yourself closer to your higher self, your higher purpose, your calling, an income stream, health, wealth, happiness, good relationships. Everything is inside of a book. And then go and do that book, go and practice that book, go and action that book, and your life will change.
Also, to walk
Yeah,
this
man.
path as well is so expansive. um, the more you walk this path, the more your perception is basically expanding and shifting from different perspectives. And then you actually start to see things that you weren't able to see before. And then you look back and then you're like, wow, my mind was so limited back then. And then you start to realize, wow, like I have thoughts that I've never even thought about, or I have imaginations or creations, or like things come through my mind that I've never been able to receive before. And you start to notice, wow, like your perception is really expanding. Like this is another thing that being on this path, I find, has really done for me as well. It really made me notice, actually looking back, like how much of a box my mind was in
Mm-hmm.
back then.
Definitely.
But I also, can I ask you a question, Indy? Because you live a very nomadic life, and that takes courage to be quite detached in a sense, and to walk in such a free way where you are just so detached from everything, but still so in your heart and so loving. Like it's really courageous. Like what was the incentive for you? Like what brought that courage up for you, basically?
To me, it's actually there's no other option. I read a lot of books, like became free, emancipated myself from mental slavery, and I realized how evil this system is. Every day, I find out something else about how evil it is. I'm about to do a video now how through Company House, the Church of Satan is funding all the 5G towers in the United Kingdom, and it's all been proven. You only start to realize, oh my gosh, how they're systematically destroying the West through open borders on purpose to bring in digital ID, how they've got nanotech coming out of chemtrails, which are killing my mother and destroying us. Yeah. When like people don't realize, like, I don't think people realize, first of all, the pandemic caught up with the three of us. It's like a lot of people became awakened in the pandemic. The pandemic just activated me to realize like this is now really go time. The manipulation of Black trauma through Black Lives Matter, the confusion of genders on purpose to make us lose our grounding. It's so evil that I literally would rather die than not be fighting every day for a better future for myself. And it's not easy. I don't specifically choose nomadic life. I'd love to have my land and my yurt and it will come. The more I trust and the more I move forward in my integrity, the more I'm supported and everything is given to me, everything. And people need to know this. And this is hopefully something that we can inspire people at the Beyond the Systems seminar. If you choose to do this work, which in my opinion is regain your dignity in this realm, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. Of course, you're going to lose friends. People are going to think that you're going against the grain. But this benevolent cosmos, which is conscious and omnipresent, surely it is looking for people that are brave enough to go against this dark, satanic, evil PDF system. And if we have the courage, it's like last night I said to mum, the call I'm doing after this is with a man that without a doubt his face is on every single blackboard in the Freemason lodge, that you know, he's an ex-policeman, they know exactly who he is. But then I thought to myself, I can't be scared to do this work. Like I can't be, because otherwise, if I'm gonna like make myself small because I'm slightly nervous that I'm going to be associated with this person. For me personally, I'd rather die, man, than not exposed to this stuff. And you know, you got to do it with wisdom. We got to protect ourselves, you know. But I truly, and also, like I said earlier, I'm a Buddhist. My faith tells me that I am the lion. I am the king of the jungle. Like we're here to make a change. We incarnated to make a change. And so I can't really have fear. Fear is just false evidence appearing real, as we know. I said to my mum yesterday, the only thing I fear, mum, is that I don't want trouble coming to your door. I don't want people to recognize you from a video that I've done exposing Freemasons with someone, and then they're starting to come for you on the high street. That's the only, like, other than that, lock me away. Me and Chris, man, lock us in anywhere. I'm going out. I'm fasting for a month. It's all good, yeah. But if you ever see me cut my dreads off, by the way, it's because war's ready. Yeah, I'm getting ready for war. But yeah, man, just knowing the state of this world, knowing the state of the royal family, what they've done to my ancestors, how they're like, how much PDF is happening all the time, the underground tunnels. It's like, yo, I'm fun being someone in the system. No disrespect for people being 9-to-5s or with mortgages. And also, as a nomad, I'm being supported by a lot of people that are in the system. I'm not being foolish here. You know, a lot of people that work hard, have mortgages, then can help me. But it's an exchange because I'm helping them in different ways as well. So yeah.
Chris, can I ask you, because obviously me and you had a phone conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I love the way that you described this about how everyone's under a spell, but I love the way that you described it. Can you talk about it on here?
Yeah. So words are magic spells, literally magic spells. And we were always told magic was in Disney films and it was hocus pocus and it was like wizards and witches and stuff. That's all nonsense. It's actually every day. Like if I call you a bunch of horrible names right now and I belittle you and I insult you, that's going to bring up an emotion for you. And if I say that you're the most beautiful person in the world, I love you so much, that's going to bring up a different feeling for you. So we can just see by examples that words have so much power. You can whittle someone down to nothing or you can build them up to something great. Therefore, automatically, we have to be aware that words have power. And the spell is the book, the law. The problem that we have is you can't get a bunch of people to fall under a spell unless they understand the alphabet and words and grammar and literature. So then the school system and then the legal system are both the two halves of the same system. You can't have a controlling legal system casting spells over people unless they understand English language. So the school system is covertly educating people in magic spells, and then people are going and following the rules and regulations of the society. Now, I will just say this. We need rules and regulations in society because you can't have 65 million people just doing whatever they want. I get it. And it's not the government are two sides of the coin. They're this hand, they look really loving and really good, and at this side, they're doing heinous, evil things. So it's easy for someone to defend the government and just look at the good things that they're producing and say, well, they do this, 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 and this. This is great. But they're completely blinded by the fact that there are insidious, disgusting, evil things happening like 5G towers and the taxation of people. We need to be casting new spells over ourselves. Like, I am unconditionally healthy at all times. I can achieve greatness. I am surrounded by loving and brilliant individuals. My mind is clear. My body is healthy. Like those types of magic spells over and over and over, you actually create a bubble.
Yeah.
Magic bubble that you're in your own little frequency. I'm in my own little universe casting magic spells. I've got affirmations on the ceiling. I've got affirmations by the kettle. I've got affirmations over there next to my mirror.
Yeah.
Read,
So important.
read them daily. Even if you don't even consciously pay attention to reading them, your subconscious mind absorbs them as you pass the kettle, as you're driving in your car. Spend half an hour driving, going, I'm amazing. Everything's amazing. Even if you feel depressed, just say it anyway, because they're magic spells and they're literally anything you write down, put into your eyeballs, digest and understanding. It goes down into your being. Eventually, you become confident. I wouldn't have the self-esteem and confidence and power that I have today if I hadn't spoken it into existence way before I ever felt it. If you're just going to say, "Oh, I feel terrible today. I got a sore tummy and my leg hurts." Why don't say that out loud? Even if it's
Yeah.
true in that moment, even in that moment, it's like, well, I do have a sore leg and I do have a sore stomach. It doesn't matter. You don't need to announce it and speak it out loud. You're just making it worse. So even if
Yeah.
you've got a sore leg and a sore stomach, just say, my stomach is always feeling better. My leg is feeling better. Everything is taken care of. I'm taken care of. Try
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
live in the future. Try and live in your imagined reality and speak your imagined reality. And don't speak what's happening currently right now because you're just creating it tomorrow.
And with pure gratitude as well, right? Gratitude for everything. It's like it seems to just magnify
Yeah.
everything. My I test this with money. So like recently, say I got £100 to my name and I spend £40 on a meal with me and my mum. Instead of thinking, oh damn, I've only got £60 left, I'm thinking, I'm so grateful that I can have this meal with my mum and that the cosmos provided this £40. And I don't think about the lack. I only have gratitude for what and then somehow next day someone purchases something on £40 replaced instantly.
Yeah.
And it's quite scary how you realize how much negative self-talk we have on ourselves or how much victim consciousness I still have within me. And when you realize that it's only me or you that can make that change for ourselves.
Yeah. And that is a process in itself, revisioning that victim identity, that lack, because lack and separation are the two cornerstones of the ego. The ego lives in, and separation and lack create this victim identity, like, oh, I'm missing something or I didn't have enough, but really we're surrounded by abundance 24 hours a day. As the great Bashar says, you don't have a lack of abundance, you have an abundance of lack.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So this woman, she's like, "Oh, I don't have any abundance." And she's like, "Well, you have an abundance of lack."
Wow. I'm writing that down.
Um, I want to talk a little bit like about how sovereignty is also about being in the heart as well. Obviously, Chris, you mentioned that
Mm,
regardless, we will need some sort of structure. Community societies always will need order and structure. Um,
Yeah.
but of course, we also want to be able to be free and feel liberated as well at the same time. And I think it's part of the process of the collective moving more into the heart. How would you sort of link sovereignty and being more in the heart?
The longest journey a man will ever take is the 13 inches between his mind and his heart. And that is the journey. Like coming out of your, as a man, I can't speak for women because women are more in their body, more in their intuition. But as a man on this journey, getting out of your head, thinking, analyzing, comparing, judging, compartmentalizing things, trying to solve problems, that is the masculine. And I just coming down into your heart and having absolute vulnerability.
mm,
Vulnerability, opening up that emotional center, opening up your heart will just connect you to your body. You might stream with crying. You might just come to terms with stuff. You're going to get physical alterations to your body. But it's cheesy to say it, but love is in the heart. It's emanating from the central toroidal field that we are a light being, and it looks like we're physical bodies, but we're not. We're just this toroidal energy of perfect light, and that center is right here. And sometimes when you sit and you chant, like Indy was saying earlier about getting that frequency high, breathing and chanting and brings all this energy up, and it just emanates from the center of your being. And sometimes it's overwhelming. It's Christ consciousness. It's unconditional love to everything that exists in physical realm.
yeah.
Whether it's a leaf, a plant, a ladybug, the curtains, the people you're surrounded with, even bailiffs, courts, evil pedophiles, whatever, whoever you end up confronting, love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
Unconditionally. A lot of my TikTok people are like, what are you talking about? Loving the government. We need to kill the government. And I'm like, no, we need to
Yeah.
love the government unconditionally forever. Whoever's respect and be grateful that someone is getting out of bed and trying to. Most of the people that work in the government are like us.
Yeah.
Most of them. There may be a small few at the top that are pulling the strings and they're not very nice people. But most of them, 80% of the people that work for the government are like paying their bills and go to barbecues and go to the cinema and stuff. So this whole, it's about love. And love comes from the heart. It comes from the heart. And you can only really feel love from the heart when you've cleared your mind, when your mind is in a state of stillness. which we talked about vipassana and getting the mind quiet.
Mm.
And coming with that comes the fear of what other people think of you. That disappears. It vanishes. Authenticity emerges. Genuine loving connection with people. You want to connect with people. And another thing, because most of the population of our planet and our country is asleep, or spiritually unconscious, when you start waking up, you have less and less people to connect with.
Yeah.
Because most people, so then you find your people, like we talked about manifestation. I didn't have to find Alex or Indy. I didn't have to find Scott. I didn't have to find Victoria. I didn't have to find those people. We're going to find each other somehow, some way. We're going to cross paths and we're going to immediately know, yeah, these are my people. So for anyone watching this who's afraid of like losing friendship groups or families, there's a
Mm.
whole community of people waiting to receive you. There's like a whole group of people like waiting for you to wake up. And then the paradox is all of your friends and family, even though they're asleep, they also want you to wake up
Yeah.
and help them and inspire them and teach them and show them the new way. That's the beautiful thing. Like my friends and family thought I was a lunatic 12 years ago. Now I walk around and they're like, oh, fucking fair play to Chris. Like he looks great. He's got great energy. He's positive. He's good to be around. He sings well. He speaks well. Like he's got a great life. He's got an income stream. Like, wow, that lunatic 12 years ago that everyone was chastising and bastizing. Now he's got shit together and he's organized and he's moving forward in his life in such a way that everyone else doesn't understand. They don't understand. My old friends from school, they're like scratching their head, like, whoa, like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, God is good, man. Woo, woo, woo. Like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, no one asked me, none of my old school friends asked me questions about anything. They just go, "You all right, mate?" And I'm like, "Yeah, good. You good?" And he goes, "Yeah, good. Oh, talk about rugby. Yeah, let's talk about rugby. Yeah, let's talk about rugby for half an hour." No one ever asked me about my mental health, what, how to cleanse themselves, how to purify their emotions, God, Jesus, studying. No one asked me any questions. I'm like an anomaly to them. I'm just walking around in this community, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there goes Chris." Like, okay, cool. But no one ever asked me a question. They
Yeah.
never asked how I'm doing it because the answer is God.
It is. Yesterday, I had so many people send me messages because of the because the Keir Starmer and Macron, they've agreed to do the digital ID, and suddenly a wave of people just asking me questions. People that have been watching silently for years, and they're not thinking I'm the crazy one, and now they're thinking, oh damn, this is going to affect me. I need to speak to Indigo, and it's the same. It's like you said, a lot of our family that have their minds closed, the third eye closed. The ancestors have their shoulders, their hand on our shoulders though, and the higher self of your family members are willing you to do this for them. Not they might not be their lower egoic self, but the higher self they're not aware of. It of course wants you to go out there and be the trailblazer for your family.
So true.
You know, before what's the time? Before we close this off, I would love, Chris, if possible, to I know we spoke about it on TikTok, but for you just to explain a little bit about the situation where you have been arrested and how you stood in your sovereignty, how you trusted in the journey and how you was released, just so that people can grapple with an actual experience.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just quickly summarize this in a few minutes. You don't have to sign anything whenever you go in any situation. Know this power. You don't have to answer questions when you're dealing with the police, even if you're in handcuffs standing at the sergeant's signing in desk. Just refrain, oh no, I don't answer questions and I don't sign anything. Thank you. You can do that. Even if they pressurize you, threaten you, you don't have to give your fingerprints if you don't want to. That's your biometric personal information. You don't have to give it to a corporate police force if you don't want to, even if they're enforcing it. Just say no, thank you. Close your hands. And one time, policemen tried to get me, the police were trying to get me into the little room, and they're being quite forceful. But I was taking it in good spirit in a way. I was just kind of resisting them a little bit, and they pretzeled me up on the floor, and then they stood me up, and then eventually they let me go. And you can do this with grace. No, I don't sign stuff. I don't sign stuff. I just don't sign. I don't answer questions. I don't sign stuff. Interview room. If they ever get you in an interview room and they sit you down and they push those two recording buttons and they say, "Hi, we're here with Mr. blah, 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 or Mrs. blah, blah, blah," don't make a single sound. Don't even breathe. Just sit there.
Wow, this is powerful. This is
It
really
takes
powerful.
it takes balls. It takes balls. It takes conviction. But just sit there and look at them. They'll keep asking you questions because that tape that is being recorded gets sent in a jiffy bag in a little plastic wallet. It gets sent to the Crown Prosecution Service, and somebody at the Crown Prosecution Service listens to the interview to decide whether they have a case or not, whether they can make money out of you or not, essentially. So if you don't make a single sound on a police recording, it just sounds like there's a policeman in a room on his own talking to himself. So that is the end of that. So it goes from, right. It goes from arrest to procedure to charge to a Crown Prosecution Service, courts, summons, and eventually you're given the money, right? But if you don't make a single sound in a police interview, like all I said to the policeman when he turned the recorder off, he started threatening me. He said, "Listen, I don't know what you're playing at." And I said, "Why aren't you threatening me on the tape?
Wow.
Why'd you turn the tape off to say what you just said? Why didn't you say what you just said on the tape? So put the tape back on and then say what you said." And he got all upset. And then he put the tape back on and he carried on the interview. And eventually he says, "This is a waste of time." And he turned the interview off. He left. I was put back in a cell for 3 or 4 hours and then I was just sent home. There's
Wow.
nothing, the police have no power. Now, I will say this for anyone watching this: if you cause a loss, harm, injury, theft, or fraud to any man, woman, or child, you are a criminal. And it doesn't matter what you do, you will go to prison. You will be fined. You can not sign something. You can stay silent in an interview. It doesn't matter. You are a criminal, and criminals get persecuted, they get prosecuted, and then they get put in prison and fined. So this is for civil matters. This is to do with the civil liberties that we have, not to do with criminal cases. Anyone that has bad intentions, that thinks they're going to steal something and get away with it, this is not for you. This is
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
paperwork, debt, contracts, civil matters, the stuff that we're trying to get ourselves out of. It's important everybody knows this. And mine was just for driving without tax, MOT, and insurance. I'd never hurt anyone, I'd never stolen anything, and I hadn't committed a crime. Therefore, I was able to negate that situation with the police with peace, knowing full well that I was not going to be convicted of a crime because no one had been harmed. So there's two sides of the law. It's not all, oh, I can commit a crime and then get away with it. That's not
No,
how
no,
this that's not
I
how this
agree.
works. This is just for us untangling ourselves out of the legal system.
Can I also just add something there as well? Really important about what you just said, Chris, is that there's a common misconception with sovereignty that it's about fighting the system, when actually we're not here to fight the system. We're here to recreate a system that actually serves the people better. And I think that that really does need to be said, because I think there's a lot of people that come into this. They're very, of course, they're very angry. Like, we understand, we've all been there. Like, there's a lot of anger that comes in when you start to realize that you live in a satanic system, that they've had control, we've been manipulated to give over our power and stuff like that. Yes, there's a lot of anger that comes with that, but we're not here to fight angrily the system. We're here to move away from it and recreate our own thing collectively.
Absolutely true. No fight required. No fight required. The little story summary is, I think I said this a few times, but it's really helped me understand. A Thai king, 500 years ago, was raising taxes, and the people were upset. They went to the Buddhist monk and they said, "Hey, the taxes are going up. We're really struggling." The Buddhist monk then went to the king and said, "Hey, like, the people are not having a good time." And he said, "Sorry, we're going to war. We need to raise taxes. I need the money, blah, blah, blah." The Buddhist went back into the town, and during one of the meetings with the Buddhists, he said, "Look, just go home and do nothing. Go home, get enough food for a week or 2 weeks, but just don't go to work, don't empty your bins, don't do anything, just relax." So the whole city just sat down, fed their kids, read books, played games, and the news went back to the king that no one, the economy literally just stopped. So the king come down with his horses, and he came down, and he says, "What is going on here? Like, everyone's just sitting around doing nothing." He's like, "What is happening? No one's paying taxes. No one's paying for nothing." So the
Wow.
king then goes to the Buddhist monk and he's like, "What is going on here?" And the Buddhist monk went, "Well, surely you can't be upset because we're not doing anything. We're not, we're doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one's doing anything." And he's like, "Well, and he goes, "Well, the people have the power. So if you want the economy to kick in again, lower the taxes, like we talked about last 2 weeks ago." And he says, "So be it. Lowered the taxes. Everyone jumped back into work. Bins got emptied again. Everyone, the economy went back to normal." And it didn't evolve. There was no like pitchforks at the king's castle. There was no like fighting it. It's just like everyone just sat down. That's the power that we have. Imagine 68 million British people staying in their houses for 2 weeks, eating, relaxing, doing nothing, not doing anything. The whole country would grind to a halt. No buses, no train drivers, nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. the government be like, oh my God, like we need this place to be functioning in order for us to have this power. And if everybody just says no, it doesn't have to be a fight. It can just be quietly. Now, do I feel like there's going to be a point where there's a clash? Yes. Is everybody a Buddhist? No. So, like, that story is great for us because we've been practicing Buddhism and we could just, but the whole country is painting flags on roundabouts and putting up flags and burning down jihadist flags. Like, the realisticness of our country being Britain is that there is going to be clashes and there's going to be condemnation and there's going to be battles, police versus Islamic State versus, it looks like at the moment that the police are with the Islamic State and they're fighting the British public.
Mm.
That's what it looks like. It looks like the police and the government and the Muslims are all in the same camp. And the British people are kind of left to their own devices, defending their own homeland. This is what it feels like in our country at the moment.
Mm.
So who knows what the future holds? I don't want to have to pull a sword and go and fight in some battle, but I will do whatever I have to do in order to do what I have to do.
And this is why I was talking about sovereignty being important, about being in the heart and how we get to that process.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't have a lot of time, Mindy, so I don't want to go more into that, but I could talk more about that.
No, it is true. It's heart based. It's knowing who you are. I think, once you know who you are as an eternal being, as someone that's come here to make a change, it changes everything. Every single interaction, every time someone comes to your door, you recognize this is an opportunity where I can turn poison to medicine. Actually, the difficult things, like Chris saying that he was arrested and all of that stuff. If he hadn't gone through that poisonous situation, there wouldn't be medicine for us right now to take as a remedy, for me to feel inspired to go off and do it myself again and to have dignity. I'll sit back in the police car because I know, like I said, I haven't caused no fraud, no loss, no damage. And so I think this is one of the most powerful conversations I've had regarding sovereignty, because the word is chucked around all the time. And there's 1,000 of like sovereign groups happening. And a lot of it is about, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of like F the system but from that Buddhist philosophy, from that like spiritual philosophy, we have to raise the frequency. And also, from my philosophy, everyone's inseparable. We're all inseparable. So I can't even have hate for someone. I'd like, Chris was saying, loving the PDF files. Most people won't understand that. I'm not saying that we're justifying it. I'm not saying I'm even your friend, but you're an aspect of me. And I unconditionally love you because I unconditionally love everything about me. And the only way I see the world healing is by that PDF finally remembering what love feels like so he can raise his frequency. And then maybe he can start to become healed, not just being like chastised and put in the corner and you're evil and nasty. Yes, you've done evil acts. I'm not, like I said, I don't want you in my community even maybe, but on a personal energetic level, I've forgiven you already. And I hope and pray that you find happiness in your life, because that's the only way that this prison planet will start to rise. It's not about holding hatred and fear and anger for the people that have oppressed us. It's actually loving them. But this is a high frequency that you have to be in to actually feel that, not faking it. Actually feeling that.
But on this level, we really need to realize who the real enemy is. And I think like exactly, Chris, what you were saying about like people painting flags and stuff like that, really, if they realized what was really going on, like the things that us three here, we all know and we all see, like there would be a point, and I think really what we need to come to is like a point where we all unite together. And exactly what you were saying, do nothing, Chris, or just stand up and just like,
just it doesn't take a fight to have 1 million people believe in it. 1 million people standing outside Downing Street is a powerful symbol, and they all can just be sitting down drinking tea. It can be a love revolution and not a fighting revolution. No one's head needs to be cut off on this revolution, but we may need to arrest and imprison some criminals that are in government. We may need to arrest and charge criminally Bill Gates and all of those people. It doesn't mean we have to condemn them, judge them, attack them, hurt them. But some people do need to be taken out of the public power position and put into a prison. That's a fact. And they need to just be kept there. We feed them 3 times a day and they can have a telly and a gym. That's fine. But they're not allowed to get out of the prison and cause more heinous crimes on the earth. So there is an accountability there that we do need to take people out of power and replace them with loving, kind, inspirational individuals who have scope, who can organize large demographics of people. We need leaders, not politicians.
Wow.
Leaders lead by example. Politicians just talk shit. That is a fact. Politicians are literally paid rhetoric liars, manipulated by, they're not actors on television. A leader doesn't want doesn't need anything. A leader is just like, hey, we're going this way. This is the right way to go. A leader turns, listens to everybody, listens to all the constituents, all the women, all the children, all the men, and then he comes to a decision that is best for everybody.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a hard decision to make. Like, we have to do this for this reason, but it's based on what people are doing, what they're saying, what they're feeling. And it's not based on profit. It's not based on serving a shareholder. It's not based on a government or a king or a core or anything. It's just based on the needs and the wants of the people. And
this
it
is
just,
why leaders, they need to be self-aware and compassionate.
yeah, and you're not going to
Yeah.
please all the people all the time. Leaders are not going to please all the, because you can't have 60 million people all saying something different. You have to make a decision. But what I feel like our governments don't do is they don't explain themselves enough. Like, we made this decision because of this, and these are the things, the benefiting factors. These are the contributing factors. These are the things that we've had to consider. It's a very difficult job, and we've made this decision based on this. I'm so sorry to all the people who are affected by that, but I'm sorry at this time we've just had to do that. That sentence has never come out of a politician's mouth. It's just, yes, we've moved this thing over here. Thank you. Goodbye.
It's like a
Yeah.
dictatorship, really. Like
It-
it's like it's an illusion that we live in a democracy. As far as I'm concerned, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And a true leader should come from the people. You're not a bunch of people that come from Eton, have no idea what it's like to struggle and hustle, because otherwise they can't relate to us,
Yeah, imagine if we went back to like 1,000 years ago. There was like Mercia, the king of Mercia. There was a
Yeah.
king of Cumbria. There was a king of the Southlands. And it might in the future be a massive leader of Cornwall who is responsible for the 2 million people in Cornwall. And there might be a Dorset leader who is
Yeah.
talking to the Cornwall leader to make sure everything's fine. And it could be like 10 leaders around the country and not just one prime minister.
Yeah.
Leading up to a governing body, well, there has to be some kind of governance. It can't just be free for all. But it's the evolution of the consciousness of humanity which will alleviate these systems. The systems of government will disappear once everyone wakes up.
Yeah.
I think really like we're navigating something that we haven't navigated before either as well, like especially in the way that we're trying to recreate like a new paradigm and a new way of living that really brings the power back to the people. So like I don't really feel like this has ever really happened before.
No.
In the history that we've ever known. So we're navigating something so completely new. Like we don't even know what the outcome is even going to look like at this point. Is it going to be loads of little communities around, or is it going to be like
Tribal? Who knows?
like who knows? Who knows what that's going to look like at the end?
Yeah. Well, we're co-creating it together. That's all I know for sure.
At least we have the technology to record YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Rumble, you name it. We live in a beautiful time where we have cameras in our laptops. We can visit, we can see each other's faces clearly. We can hear each other. We could record one of these a day for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And just send it into the world, sharing those links over and over and over and over again. And it will just snowball into love, light, connectivity, community. And then we'll be in the Star Trek future where we're exploring space together as one unified globe instead of this fractionated dystopia that we're in.
So, my courageous spiritual family, to round this up, let me just remind everyone watching. So on Saturday, the 18th of October, 2025 at the Tabernacle Theatre in London, you'll catch us there. There's actually, let me read who's going to be there. There's going to be, so Chris Edwards, allegedly Dave, Pete Stone, Victoria Rickson, Clive Edwards, Karen Dodd, and myself. It's going to be Beyond the System, a live seminar, and it's about understanding the hidden structures around you and how to navigate life with more freedom and truth, and how to cultivate that courage that we're speaking about to start to actually go, do you know what? I think I'm brave enough to say no. And so, yeah, I look forward to seeing you all on that stage, and I love you and thank you.
Thank you, Indy.
Love
Thank
you
you.
both. Thank you.
We'll see you on the 18th of September and October. Come along, grab a ticket at Eventbrite, and we'll see you there. Lots of love, everyone.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Nam